What's going on, guys? Today I'm back with another Hat format replay review for you guys. If you're interested in sending in your Hat format replays, you can go down to the video description and find all the information on how to go about sending those in. Anyways, the match I have for you today, we have Molson Canadian, who is going to be on Gravekeeper Artifact Trap Tricks, versus Lure Tactical, who is going to be on kind of a spicy version of H.A.T, playing like Thunder Dragons and some like other unique trap cards and stuff like that. So hopefully this will be a good match. I believe this was a top 4 match from one of the Moral Attack monthlies. And anyways, guys, let's get straight into it. So here it looks like Lure Tactical will be starting this one out. Opening hands, we see Fire Hand, Dimensional Prison, Trap Trick, Shrapple, Nightmare, Fire Hand, and Ice Hand, so very heavy on the hands. And on the other side, we see Duality, Card D, DD Crow, Pot of Duality, and Mind Control. And here, Lure Tactical will draw for turn, getting a copy of Beagle Tack, and let's see what happens. Here, Pot of Duality is activated, revealing Dianea, Divine Wrath, and Card D, and they are going to take that copy of Dianea there. They already have a Card D, so it, kind of makes sense there in case they find themselves in a position where they get a Mermail or something like that. And also seeing that Divine Wrath was also kind of something interesting. We've been seeing that pop up a little bit more, and honestly, it is a very strong card, especially in the decks that play, for example, the artifacts, which if you get them into graveyard, then your Call the Haunteds and things become live, especially take, for example, say they had one here, they don't really have anything to, trigger the artifacts. Obviously, Beagle Tack isn't necessarily the best one in a situation like that, but you kind of get the point there. Anyways, summoning Card D and then setting the Beagle Tack using Card D, drawing into a Dianea and Moral Tack. And here they just pass turn, and Molson will draw a copy of Bottomless for turn, summon a copy of Fire Hand, and just swing in for some quick damage. After that, setting 3 and over to Lure Tactical, who gets a copy of Sanctum. So pretty strong draw there. They're going to activate Duality, revealing Double Cyclone, and Moral Tack, taking the copy of Double Cyclone. So finally something pretty good for them, especially given now they have an extra artifact in hand, and being able to pop the Beagle Tack plus an opponent's back row is very good. And here it looks like they are just going to set a copy of Dianea and set 3 more back row over to Molson, who now gets a copy of Ignition, and they are going to normal summon the Ice Hand, go to battle phase, and swing in. And it looks like Lure Tactical is thinking, and nope, they are going to allow that to go through, and then attack in with that copy of Fire Hand, going to main phase 2 and setting the Ignition back over to Lure Tactical, or not yet. It looks like they're actually going to go and actually, where did that back row go? Oh, I think they actually just accidentally misclicked and put it on top of deck, but they were popping the Beagle Tack and this copy of Trap Trick, Shrapple, Nightmare, and then the Beagle Tack is going to trigger, special summoning itself, and then Beagle Tack will trigger to pop the set Moral Tack. Moral Tack will summon, and they are going to pop the Ice Hand, and Ice Hand is going to pop the back row, but that is going to be met with the chained artifact Sanctum, which is going to summon a copy of Scythe, and then it looks like the Fire Hand is also going to trigger on a new chain. Scythe and the Sanctum is going to be activated, and let's see what they pop with the Sanctum. They are going to hit the Dimensional Prison, which is very strong there. And Lure Tactical will draw for turn, getting another copy of Sanctum, so, keeping the Sanctum train going, overlaying for a copy of Pleiades, and that is going to be met with the Bottomless, and here it looks like they're going to chain the Pleiades targeting itself. I guess there is a world where they could try to bounce the back row, but that could be a little risky if it is a chainable, or they could even almost go and activate it and bounce one of the Fire Hands to keep, Molson having less monsters on board and having to waste another normal summon. Though at the same time, you don't really want your opponent having access to the Fire Hands in that sense, just because these, can kind of break boards easily. So you'd rather just kind of bounce your own guy and then play through your opponent's board. So here Dianea is going to be summoned, the other Dianea is then summoned, and they don't unfortunately have any trap whole normal traps in graveyard, but here they can go and activate Mind Control to take one of the Fire Hands and go for a Dweller. So I guess in this position, had they bounced the other Fire Hand, they'd be able to attack in and do more damage, but at the same time, Molson would still have access to the Fire Hand, which I guess wouldn't necessarily matter in some cases, but if they had the read that maybe Molson was able to out the Dweller before going into the Fire Hand, it just means it's a little bit stronger on the following turn. But here, going for that Dweller, using the effect detaching Dionea and then running over the Fire Hand, and then going in for some big damage here. Molson is definitely going to have their work cut out for them. And so after that, main phase 2, setting that copy of Sanctum and over to Molson, who gets a copy of Moral Tack, not really a great card there, setting the Fire Hand over to Lure Tactical, who gets a Torrential. Here they're going to go battle phase, and are they not going to? Oh, they are going to use the Dweller on Declaration, getting over that Fire Hand and attacking in for more damage there. And Molson's really not in a good position. Main phase 2 setting that Torrential, and here Ice Hand is drawn. Okay, so that's something at least decent, but we do see all the Fire Hands in graveyard, so this won't even be able to float. They can pop a back row, but I would assume this game is just about over. This game 1, given Molson only has 700 and not a whole lot else. Going to battle phase, running over the Ice Hand. Ice Hand is going to pop the Torrential, and then Lara is going to attack in here. It looks like Ignition is going to activate, trying to pop the back row, and I guess Crow is just there, assuming that that was an artifact. So moving on into game number 2, Molson will get to start this one out. Opening hands, we see Compulse, Skullmeister, Traptrek Trapple Nightmare, Gravekeeper's Recruiter, and Ignition. I almost forgot this is even a Gravekeeper's deck, given we just kind of saw like artifact hands. And on the other side, we see Wiretap, Thunder Dragon, Artifact Sanctum, Artifact Moraltech, and Double Cyclone. The Thunder Dragon is really cool in this deck because you're able to kind of fill your graveyard with these Thunder Dragons via its own effect to discard and add up to 2 Thunder Dragons from deck to hand. And then you are able to make Soul Charge plays, obviously being a level 5 light. You can go into Pleiades and stuff like that. So that is always pretty cool. Here, Molson will draw for turn, getting a copy of Ice Hand. And so here, it looks like Molson is going to set that Recruiter over to Lair Tactical, who gets a copy of Duality. Very strong draw here. And they are going to use the copy of Thunder Dragon, adding 1 Thunder Dragon, adding 2 Thunder Dragons. Okay, sometimes what this deck will do is you can discard and add 1, and then discard and add another. And that's if you have Soul Charge, now you have 2 in grave already. So just a kind of cool thing since it says up to 2 Thunder Dragons. But after that, Duality is going to be able to activate, and we are seeing Card D, Warning, and Call the Haunted. Okay, and they are going to take the copy of Warning here. Okay, I guess into 3 back row, you'd assume the card probably wouldn't be resolving there. So it makes sense after that, setting 5 back row over to Molson, who gets a copy of Beagle Tack. Not the greatest draw there. They are going to flip the Recruiter, normal summon Ice Hand, and go to battle phase. Here, Double Cyclone is going to activate, and Lure is going to hit. Let's see what that back row is. The Moral Tack and the Compulse. Okay, and then here we are going to see the Moral Tack attempting to activate, but Skullmeister is going to be chained to that, so it will not resolve after that. The Sanctum's going to activate, summoning a copy of Moral Tack. Moral Tack is going to trigger, and Molson is going to chain that Traptrek Traphole Nightmare, but Lair does have the copy of Wiretap. So shuffling that Traptrek Traphole Nightmare back into deck, and then Moral Tack is going to pop the copy of Recruiter. Recruiter can then trigger to add a copy of Commandant, which is a very good card, being able to search Necro Valley and stuff, but at bare minimum, Lair Tactical now does have a 14 defense wall, meaning this Ice Hand won't be able to clear it. Going to main phase 2, activating Commandant to add Necro Valley, and then from here, Necro Valley is activated, setting the Beagle Tack over to Lair Tactical, who gets a copy of Ignition, and that is a pretty solid draw for them here. They are going to just set 1 over to Molson. Molson gets a Duality, very strong, revealing Commandant, Moral Tack, and Deprison, getting that other copy of Commandant, partially as a beater. Oh, they are actually using it as a beater. I was going to say, if not, it is just another backup in case the first Necro Valley is outed, but that is going to be met with Warning. So it looks like Molson is just going to switch the Ice Hand to defense, and then after that, it looks like Ignition is going to be activated, and they are going to go after one of the random sets, hitting the copy of Ignition and setting Moral Tack. That's very unfortunate. So now Lure will not have a battle phase on their next turn. Here, Lair draws into a copy of Call the Haunted, which is at least something. They're going to have to skip their battle phase over to Molson, who gets a Dark Hole, back over to Lair, who gets a copy of Sanctum. Now, how many artifacts did they go through? So far, only 2 moral attacks. So this Sanctum should be live. Oh, but there's the 3rd there, actually. So if anything, this will probably get a Beagle Tack, given they kept it in, which I would assume they probably kept it in. And here, setting to back row, over to Molson, who gets a Fire Hand, finally something that can beat over this copy of Moral Attack, going to battle phase after switching the Ice Hand, and then attacking in, and going to end phase here, Artifact Sanctum's going to be activated, summoning the copy of Beagle Attack, so there we see it, and then using the effect to pop that set Moral Attack. Moral Attack can then trigger to summon itself, and is he using the effect? He is going to use the effect, popping the copy of Necro Valley. Here, Lair does draw into a copy of Ice Hand, okay, and then they're going to start by overlaying into a copy of Pleiades to check for back row, normal summoning the Ice Hand, going to battle phase, attacking into the Ice Hand. From here, Ice Hand can trigger, popping the back row, which pops that Beagle Tech, and summoning a copy of Fire Hand. Here, Beagle Tech will trigger to special summon itself in defense, so walling up a little bit. Then going to battle phase, or well, still in battle phase, I should say, the Pleiades will run over the Beagle Tech, and then from there, main phase 2, activating and summoning a copy of Ice Hand, overlaying into 101 maybe? Let's see. Into Black Ship. Okay, so that also, works. Were both of these normal summoned? I know the Fire Hand was. I forget if the Ice Hand was. Is there any engrave? Oh, so they both were normal summoned, so it makes sense to go for the Black Ship here. And here, which one are they going to get rid of? They are going to get rid of the Fire Hand and inflict 1,000 damage. Then Pleiades is going to activate to bounce the Call of the Haunted, resetting it. And in a weird way, there's almost a reason not to reset the Call of the Haunted, though it is a little more risky, but that means that the Ice Hand wouldn't be able to just run in, because if anything, the Ice Hand can bait the copy of Pleiades if they try to attack in, because then there's a target for it to be able to pop, whereas if they didn't keep it, then Molson would have to find a way to deal with the Pleiades. Obviously, the Dark Hole was there, but it's just an idea there. Anyways, going to battle phase, and here we will see the Pleiades bounce the Ice Hand. As I mentioned, it does sort of bait that. And then into main phase 2, Dark Hole can just clear, setting the Ice Hand, and over to Lair, who gets a copy of Ignition. From here, they're going to think, and they're just going to set the copy of Ignition, passing it over to Molson, who now gets a copy of Warning. They can flip the Ice Hand here and attack in. Lair Tactical is getting very low. Main phase 2 setting Recruiter, setting Warning. And in the end phase, Ignition's going to activate to pop the back row, and Lair sets the copy of Scythe. So they had, how many artifacts is that? 3 moral attacks, 1 Beagle attack, and the copy of Scythe at bare minimum. And here, Lair draws a copy of Dionea, which they can normal summon, activate Call of the Haunted, bring back the copy of Ice Hand, overlay for Dweller. Okay, very strong here, and it was made with that Ice Hand, so it does gain an attack boost. And here they can run over that copy of Ice Hand, and it won't be able to trigger. Here, Molson gets a copy of Necro Valley, which they can activate. Here, Lair is going to get a copy of Mind Control, and let's see what they choose to do here. They are going to Mind Control here on the Recruiter. Interesting play here. Going to battle phase, just trying to inflict a lot of damage while still keeping the material on the Dweller. And here, this should return back to Molson because it was the Mind Control, which only lasts until the end phase. Here, Molson gets a copy of Ice Hand. Hopefully they catch it. They do catch it. And it looks like Molson just passes. Here, Lair gets a copy of Divine Wrath, which also, again, pairs well with these Thunder Dragons, having free discards, basically. And here, let's see what happens. Lair is going to set that copy of Divine Wrath, go to battle phase, run over the Recruiter here. Recruiter will trigger to get another copy of itself. And after that, actually, how much defense is it? This has 2,000. Okay, so it is able to clear. Here, Molson draws a copy of Torrential, which is pretty good. They are going to set Ice Hand, set Torrential, back over to Lair, who gets a copy of Duality. They're going to activate it, revealing Dark Hole, Mermail, and Ignition. Okay, and here they are going to take that copy of Mermail. I would assume they're probably pretty much out of artifacts, so that Ignition was sort of dead there. Here, normal summoning the copy of Mermail, and adding a Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare. After that, going to battle phase, and they say it's good. Ooh, had they used this, it would have been a very interesting situation here, because this wouldn't be able to trigger, and there's a good chance this would put them low enough that it could kind of get out of hand. But here the Ice Hand is going to be able to pop this copy of Divine Wrath unless they chain it, which they are going to chain. And here they can swing in while still keeping that material on Dweller. Very nicely played. After that, setting that copy of Trap Trick Trap Hole Nightmare over to Molson, who gets a copy of Skullmeister. They are going to normal summon Recruiter and attempt to attack over the Mermail. They are going to be able to. After that, the Ignition is drawn. Very unfortunate if we're to assume that they don't have any more artifacts. Here, Dweller is going to attack in, and it is going to work, and Recruiter is going to add a copy of Commandant here. And after that, back over to Molson, who gets a copy of Necro Valley. So, you know, not the most for them, but we're kind of in a standstill in the sense. Here, Commandant is set over to Lure, who gets a copy of Firehand, which they can normal summon. Here, the Torrential is going to be activated, and Lure is going to chain that copy of Dweller. And just in case, and yeah, they don't really have much going for them here. And given that, you know, this Ignition is in hand, despite there being something like Scythe here, it's to assume that they just ran out of artifacts at this point. Both are very low in life, too. Here, Molson gets a copy of Duality. They're going to activate it, revealing Dimensional Prison, Moral Attack, and Trap Trick Trap Hole Nightmare, taking the copy of Dimensional Prison, putting the others back, and here the Skullmeister is going to be summoned and pushing in for some damage. Skullmeister, you know, has 1700 attack. Here, Nobleman across out is drawn, and Molson does take that one, moving into a game number 3. Honestly, I thought Lure would have had that one there. You know, they played it probably as best as they could for the most part. I think the only interesting play may have been that first turn Duality, but even then, it's very justifiable not to take the copy of Cardcar in that situation. But here they will get to start this game number 3 out. Opening hands, we see Duality, Firehand, Solemn Warning, Necro Valley, and Dark Hole. And on the other side, we see Double Cyclone, Divine Wrath, Artifact Ignition, Wiretap, and Duality. And here, Lure Tactical will get a Mermail as a draw for turn, which is very solid here. They are going to normal summon it and add a copy of Bottomless. After that, they're going to activate Duality, revealing Divine Wrath, Firehand, and Duality, taking the copy of Firehand. You know, they're a little low on monsters here regardless. After that, probably setting 5 here, and nope, just setting 4, keeping the Bottomless. Here, Molson draws a copy of Sanctum for turn, very strong draw, activates Duality, revealing Spy, Ice Hand, and Sanctum, taking the copy of Ice Hand and putting the others back. After that, setting the Firehand, so kind of trying to bluff out Lure here, and then setting 3 back row, activating Necro Valley. Here, Lure Tactical is going to activate that Ignition and hit the copy of Warning. Okay, very good hit there, and setting that copy of Moral Attack. From here, Double Cyclone's going to activate, and going after another one of those random back row, hitting the copy of Sanctum and Moral Attack. So, very good, but at the same time, that Sanctum is going to be able to pop a card. And here we see the Sanctum pop the copy of Moral Attack. Interesting. And then the Moral Attack will pop the copy of Necro Valley. From here, Lure Tactical will draw into a copy of Thunder Dragon. And they're going to activate it to add a copy of Thunder Dragon. And will they add the second? They are going to add the second. And I believe they still have that copy of Divine Wrath, which they do. So that might be very relevant here. Summoning the copy of Firehand, going to battle phase, attacking over the Firehand. Firehand is going to trigger. Divine Wrath is going to be chained, discarding one of those Thunder Dragons. And then pushing in for damage with the Firehand. Not looking good for Molson, but Molson does top deck a copy of Sanctum, which is a great draw for turn here, summoning the Ice Hand and attacking into the Firehand. And, looks like a little misclick there. The Ice Hand will trigger to pop the back row, which is that Wiretap, and then summon a copy of Firehand. Firehand can attack into the copy of Moral Attack. And then from there, the Firehand will pop the Moral Attack and summon a copy of Ice Hand just as a wall up. They technically could have also popped the Firehand and made it miss timing, but then easily the Moral Attack could run over the Ice Hand, and with no back row, it wouldn't be able to float there. Here, Lure gets a copy of Ignition, and I guess, depending on if Lure was afraid of this back row, I guess there almost would have, no, because that only has 1600 attack, so even if they were to try to tribute summon, it can't get over this Ice Hand, which is kind of ironic. And from here, it looks like they're going to set 2 over to Molson, who gets a Skullmeister, and they are going to switch the Ice Hand to attack and attack over the copy of Firehand. Firehand is going to trigger, but Skullmeister will meet that, and then in main phase 2, setting the copy of Sanctum over to Lure, who gets a copy of Mermail, which they can normal summon, and no effect. Going to battle phase and attacking into the Ice Hand here. Ice Hand is going to trigger to pop the back row, hitting the ignition. So, you know, probably best case scenario for them in a sense. Yeah, and so the battle phase will be skipped, but Molson does get a Fire Hand, and over to Molson, who will now draw a copy of Gravekeeper Spy. Honestly, I feel like there almost wasn't a good reason to attack over there, given it's just weird because it feels like Lure doesn't really have a lot going for them here at the moment. And while Molson doesn't have a ton going for them either, I feel like they were being a little more aggressive than they had to be in that moment. But let's see here, Spy is set, and they are going to skip their battle phase over to Lure, who now gets a Sanctum of their own, which they can set and pass. Here, Molson gets a Commandant. They're going to flip the Spy, summon a copy of Recruiter, and then overlay for a copy of 101. Okay, just trying to play into the back row a little. Commandant is activated or discarded to add the copy of Necro Valley, which is activated. After that, going to battle phase, and Recruiter can run over the Mermail and then attacking in with the 101, but it looks like Sanctum is going to be chained to that, summoning a copy of Scythe simply so that the Honor Arc can't get over it. And going to main phase 2, they're taking some time to think. They're going to use the 101 to take the copy of Scythe here, and over to Lair Tactical, who gets a copy of Duality. Here, Duality is activated, revealing Torrential, Mermail, and Soul Charge. That Soul Charge is looking pretty good here, but instead they're going to take the copy of Torrential. Okay, and let me just check the graveyard. They definitely, yeah, they had Thunder Dragons, Mermelios, like, there's I guess if they don't really have a lot of defense, it's a little awkward because they wouldn't be able to use the Duality there, but at bare minimum, if they really needed to, if they had enough life to make like a Soul Charge play of sorts, even going for something like, I don't know, double Thunder Dragon and a Fire Hand, or even like Mermelios to pop the back row and try to, you know, clear the board a little bit, there might have been some plays there, but let's see how it plays out. Setting the Torrential, here Molson gets a copy of Ignition, which is like perfect given if they know that this is sort of Torrential. Going into battle phase, inflicting some damage here. And main phase 2, setting that Ignition. Here Lure gets an Ignition of their own, which they're going to set. Here Ignition's going to chain. Ignition is, they aren't able to activate this one, but they can activate the Destruction when sent to grave. Here Molson sets a copy of Mortal Attack, draws into an Ice Hand, goes to battle phase. It gets skipped, go into end phase, over to Lure, who gets a copy of Dark Hole, which they're just going to set. Here Molson gets a copy of Skullmeister, going to battle phase, attacking in for a lot of damage here, but they are still alive just by a little bit. Really coming down to the wire here, and here it looks like Lure is going to get a copy of Dionea for turn, which is pretty good. But they are going to have to navigate through some back row here. Dark Hole's activated, getting a material off the 101, and then Recruiter is destroyed. Recruiter can trigger, however, getting a copy of Commandant. From here, it looks like Dionea is going to be normal summoned. Torrential is chained. And, oh, did they not use the effect there? Did I miss something? Okay. They didn't use Duality that turn, did they? So just, because they could have summoned, used the effect, and chained the Torrential, clearing the board, and then the copy of Mermail would be on field as a defender, if I'm not mistaken. Unless I'm missing something there, but let's keep going. Ice Hand is summoned, going to battle phase, and that is game. And here Lure even says they threw game 2, which again, it seemed pretty winnable that they were in a much better position, but it kind of happens. It seemed like Molson was out of it a lot, honestly. In terms of like both in game 2 and game 3, it didn't seem like they were in a good position, but somehow they managed to claw their way back. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it, comment any questions or videos you want to see in the future, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified anytime I put a new video out, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to go down to the video description to find out how you can send in your hat format replays. Whether you won or lost, if you thought the deck you or your opponent was playing was pretty cool, feel free to send it in. I'm sure people would love to see it. But anyways, guys, I will see you in the next video.